What's up, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and for the final week of 2014, for the end of 2014, I'm talking about the end of the X-Men. X-Men, the end, Men, and X-Men. This is volume 3 of a 3-volume set of stories written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Sean Chen. I've already talked about volumes 1 and 2, and if you've been watching these videos, you know that I have been hating this storyline, and I hate to say it, but volume 3 is no different. This is astoundingly terrible. Now, as I said in my review of volume 2, the plot actually isn't that confusing. When I read Volume 1, there was a lot of plot elements, and Volume 1 really was just setup for a lot of the plot stuff. But as you go further and further into the story in each volume, Volumes 2 and 3 anyway, the story becomes less complicated the further you get into it, because there's a lot of stuff that seemingly had nothing to do with each other, and then they are connected as you get further and further into the story. But the plot isn't what's the problem here. The problem is that you've got 4,000 characters, and Chris Claremont tries to give each of them something to do, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Kitty Pryde is a character that Chris Claremont always loved, and so he gives her quite a bit to do in this volume. I would even go so far as to say that as these volumes get further along, in Volume 3, Kitty has a lot more to do than she did in Volume 1. And as I said in my review of Volume 2, Chris Claremont seems to think that when there is an intergalactic war going on where the fate of the entire planet is at stake, that the audience is going to care about a mayoral race to see who is going to become the mayor of Chicago. And I have to say, I still don't care about that. I didn't care about it in Volume 1. I don't care about it now. And, of course, spoiler, Kitty Pryde does win. Big surprise. He loves Kitty Pryde. He's going to make her be good at everything in the world. Over his several years on X-Men, he made her a computer hacker. He made her an all-A student. He made her a ninja. He makes her really good at politics here. Nothing's really changed. Basically, this story is a huge, gigantic waste of time. I cannot think of anyone that I would want to recommend this to. If you have never read X-Men before, a lot of this would be completely impenetrable. You would have trouble with who these characters are. You would have trouble with a lot of settings. I remember in Volume 2, when Gambit's kids and Cyclops' kids were all in that town in the Australian outback, and Rogue, she realizes where they are. She says, "I know where you are." And it's supposed to be this big reveal if you've read those issues that are set in the Outback in the late 1980s. If you've never read those issues before, and then you read that story, you would think, okay, they're just in some random town that nobody lives in, and it wouldn't really make any sense to you. So I can't really recommend this to somebody who's never read X-Men before, and I definitely can't recommend this to somebody who has read lots of X-Men before, because this just isn't that good of a story. I can think of tons of stories written by Chris Claremont, no less, that are a lot better than this. I would say Dark Phoenix Saga, a lot better than this. I would say the original Brood Saga is better than this. There's a lot of stuff that he did where his main goal was just to tell a good story, and he accomplished that. But here, his main goal isn't so much to tell a good story, it's more to tell the ultimate story, the end of the X-Men. He doesn't really seem to care as much about telling a good story as he wants to tell the final story, and so he wants to make it really big, and he wants to include everything. He wants the Shi'ar, he wants the Skrulls, he wants the Brood, he wants interdimensional conquerors, he wants everything and anything except for the kitchen sink, and as such, this story feels really crowded, and that has been its problem ever since Volume 1. There have been plenty of other problems, don't get me wrong. For example, the story really doesn't feel like it gets started until Volume 2. All of Volume 1 felt completely like setup. There's been a lot of problems with this 18-issue maxi series, but overall, I would say that it's just not a very enjoyable story. It's not really fun for any demographic. I cannot think of anyone who I would want to give this to and say, hey, you would probably like this a lot. It's really not that good, and I said in Volume 1 that Sean Chen's pencils were pretty good. I said that he reminded me a lot of Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri, and those are artists that I don't really care for, and I know a lot of people really like those guys. I am not one of those people. I don't really care for that art style, but I said that I was liking Sean Chen's artwork in Volume 1. By the time you get to Volume 3, I don't know if it's just that I'm getting sick and tired of reading this, but I did not like his art as much as I did in Volume 1. I don't know if he's getting worse or if I was just getting sick and tired of it. I don't know. But I liked his art a lot more in Volume 1 than I do now. I don't really care for his artwork here. Maybe he is kind of getting a little bit sloppy in Volume 3. I'm not really sure, but I didn't really like what he was doing here. I think I liked what he was doing in Volume 1 a lot more. I don't really have a whole lot else to say. This is an astoundingly terrible story. All three of these volumes, none of them are good. I really regret buying these, and I very rarely say that about X-Men books. Even if it's something that I don't really like, very rarely do I say, man, I wish I hadn't paid the money for that. I really wish that I hadn't bought these. I can think of hundreds of things that I would have rather done with my money, including pouring it in the toilet and flushing it down the drain. That's how much I hated this book. That's how much I hated all three of these books. And I don't want to be mean because I like Chris Claremont. I like what he's done on the X-Men. Almost everything that he's done on the X-Men is better than this. But this is something that I would recommend everyone skip. And that's all I have to say. I hope that you guys enjoyed these videos talking about X-Men The End. I hope maybe you didn't enjoy it. Maybe you're like, man, I wish you'd get back to some good X-Men stuff. I don't know. Maybe eventually. Next week, I am probably going to do a volume of Gen X. That is set in the same world as X-Men The End. It's kind of a sort of sequel to X-Men The End. All I know about it is that it's set that far in the future, set in this particular future, and it involves children of the X-Men. I don't know which characters are in it. I know a few of them that are in it, and there were actually 2 miniseries involving the Gen X kids. I have one of them. If I have the one that's immediately after this, then I will probably do a video on it a week from today. If I somehow manage to get the second miniseries featuring those characters, I don't know what I'll do, because I really don't want to buy another miniseries if I'm going to enjoy Gen X as much as I enjoyed X-Men The End. So that's what you can expect next week, and then, I don't know, I'll figure out something that I'm going to do X-Men related in the coming weeks in the start of the new year. I know I'm going to keep doing X-Men videos like I have been doing, I'm just not sure what order I'm going to do them in. And for the rest of this week, I'm going to be doing a couple of other videos, very different from this video, so you can expect to see that for the rest of this week. So until tomorrow, I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of the day.